Hello, everyone. Good Saturday evening out there to you. This is a tropical weather update for you guys here this evening, brought to you by Weather on the Go. If you guys have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, I definitely encourage you guys to subscribe. Lots of great weather content coming out here this weekend, as well as early next week here as well. We have lots of great detail coming out here, breaking down the weather pattern as we head here through the week next week with lots of heat on the way and also lots of storms. But kind of in this update, I will be talking to you about especially the Eastern Pacific Basin here, and then kind of giving you an update here on the Atlantic Basin as well, with that hurricane season starting to heat up across the oceans here. Definitely, like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel here. Definitely try to help me out to get to 300 subscribers. I definitely appreciate everybody joining. And again, and this is, we're talking about the tropics out here getting really active as we get into portions here, late July into early August. So let's get to it here. You can see Tropical Storm Estelle across kind of the southwest of the Mexican coast here over the open waters of the Eastern Pacific Basin. And you can see that on the satellite imagery here, some very strong and robust convection, some thunderstorm activity kind of revolving around that center of low pressure as we kind of move southwest here, especially offshore of the Mexican coast. This is going to be moving generally west-northwestward here as we head through the next several days and kind of strengthening as it does so. This is kind of the intensity here and kind of the track of what we can expect tropical storm Estelle to become a major hurricane as we head towards the wee hours of the morning and here on your Monday early next week, and then stay at least major hurricane status as we get towards the early morning hours on your Tuesday, and then really staying at hurricane status through the middle and late portion of the week before it kind of encounters some cooler waters in the Eastern Pacific Basin and kind of drops down to that tropical storm status toward that Thursday, Friday time frame as well. But kind of looking at what we're seeing here with the setup here with this and why it's going more over the open waters is we have a strong high pressure system. And if you can think about the flow around a high pressure system, a flow around the high pressure system here are, clockwise. We have clockwise flow around high pressure systems. And that means here, as this high pressure system across the four corners in the southwest United States kind of stays anchored in that area, it will force this system more west here over the open waters of the Eastern Pacific Basin and eventually to the Central Pacific, as the flow around this is actually coming from the east across portions here of Mexico and the Baja of California, kind of forcing the system more to the west here as well. And you can see that here. This is the European rendition here of European model's rendition of what we can expect as we head here through the next several days. You can see a 1001 millibar low, kind of the center bottom of your screen, kind of a low pressure system starting to kind of develop and organize a little more here as we head through the rest of today. And then as we get into your Sunday evening time frame, this really starts to develop into a hurricane, a 996 millibar low, and then starts to track more to the west northwest here as we head into early next week on your Monday, dropping down to 994 millibars. So very strong wind field around the system here as it kind of really strengthens to that major hurricane status by this time, and then really kind of stays at major hurricane status through the day on Tuesday here with a 991 millibar low. Very strong low pressure system here across the Eastern Pacific Basin. Got some warm waters to work with, so definitely going to be keeping an eye on this system. Again, not really affecting any land, but definitely some wave action potentially across the coastline here of western Mexico, as well as the Baja of California. Definitely got to watch that as well. And then that kind of moves more northwest here as we head towards the late week period, towards that Wednesday, Thursday time frame. He kind of starts to weaken as it starts to approach those cooler waters out there. Another thing we do have to watch here for is some good news potentially for portions here of Southern California, Arizona, Southern Nevada, is we got a lot of strong moisture kind of wrapping around this system here as we have a lot of strong convection and that thunderstorm activity around the center here, and probably seeing an eye wall develop here as we move through time through the week next week with the system as it strengthens. But we do have low pressure systems. They move counterclockwise, so we have counterclockwise flow, and on the eastern side, the eastern flanks here of the system will have a lot of moisture kind of advecting northward across portions here, the Baja of California. And there is some potential, depending on the exact track of the system, if it tracks a little farther to the east side of that cone, we definitely could have some moisture kind of trying to get up into portions of Southern California, southwestern Arizona, maybe as far north as Southern Nevada there, getting caught in that monsoonal flow. However, if the system goes a little farther west and south here on the western side of that cone, that moisture will kind of be cut off from really moving to the north. So we'll definitely continue to kind of keep an eye on this. But look at all the, warm and, moist air out there. A lot of precipitable water values really getting up into those anomalies here, really high up on the end of the anomalies across the Eastern Pacific here. Again, this model in particular, the GFS, really not pushing a lot of that moisture up into the monsoonal areas, but we still could have a good fetch of moisture kind of trying to move into the southwestern United States as we head towards the, late next week. So that will definitely be something to keep an eye on. Moving over to the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf of Mexico, not really seeing any tropical cyclones, any tropical entities here over the next several days. Still really kind of cut off from that flow as we still have those waves coming off Africa, but when they do, they actually move farther south here across the very southern portions here of the Atlantic Basin, and then move over the Central Americas here, and that's why the Eastern Pacific has been just so active as of late. But looking kind of at the kind of upper air picture of why we're seeing this across the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico, we got a very strong high pressure system, and that is actually centered across the central portions there of the Atlantic. And again, if you look kind of at a high pressure system, you have that clockwise flow. So that's actually forcing these waves across portions that come off of Africa here and that kind of develop over the southern Atlantic Basin to start to, move and kind of trek its way to the west across the Central Americas and into the east, the Eastern Pacific Basin here. It doesn't really have a chance to really move up into the Gulf of Mexico here. And if it does have a chance, it's very limited because that flow is just so strong around the high pressure system. We really just don't have any storms really wanting to go up toward the Gulf of Mexico here, at least the next 5 to 10 days. And that just really kind of continues here as we move into the middle of next week. You still have that very strong high pressure system centered over the central portions of the Atlantic. Still got that flow here kind of clockwise around that high pressure system. So all the systems that do develop and all those waves that move across the, the southern portions of the Caribbean will actually be forced to actually go across the Central Americas into the Eastern Pacific Basin, even as we head into the middle of next week. But things start to change. Things start to change, I think, as we head towards next weekend and then the following week, as that high pressure system starts to kind of move more to the north. And what this will do is actually open the door potentially to a little bit more flow into the Gulf of Mexico, I think, as we head especially late next weekend and into the following week here towards the closing days of July. And that will bring a little bit of some changes potentially for areas in the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, and the Western Atlantic as we head during that time frame. Again, seeing during this, the 16th or the 23rd time frame here, we're solidly in that time frame right now. Seeing kind of some tropical moisture here across portions of the Eastern Carolinas, getting up towards the open waters of the Western Atlantic. But we're really not seeing a big signal here in the Gulf of Mexico. Seeing those tan colors and those oranges, really below normal anomalies for precipitation during that 16th through the 23rd time frame in July. But as we kind of move the needle to the 23rd to the 30th time frame, kind of the closing week or so of July, we really start to see these anomalies start to grow on the climate forecasting systems model that has been actually rather accurate this year at predicting some of these tropical storms and tropical entities and all this, above average precipitation signals. And actually starting to show a little bit of a signal there into the portions, especially the central and eastern Gulf, kind of near the Florida panhandle here and down towards portions there of western Cuba. We definitely have to watch that as we have a little bit of a signal there of above normal precipitation or above normal anomalies there for moisture as we move into the eastern Gulf of Mexico as we head towards the closing days of July. And that actually extends into the first week or so here of August. The first few days of August, we kind of have a little bit of a signal across the southeastern United States, especially down into Florida, southern Georgia, and kind of the outer banks here, the Carolinas. We might have excessive moisture across this area as we kind of move into that time frame. So that will definitely be something to watch here. I think as we get into next weekend, and especially as we get into the first week here in August, I really think we're going to start heating things up here across the Gulf here, one way or another, whether it's another tropical rain system, a tropical storm, or hurricane. We'll definitely have to wait and see, but definitely the signal is there as we head towards that time frame that we definitely have to watch things as we get towards the the end of July into early August. And again, looking kind of at the favorable conditions, they're very favorable. We got the very high end of the values here up on the chart here to the right, and you're seeing a lot of warm values across portions here of the Gulf, the Caribbean, right off the coast here of the Carolinas here in eastern Florida. Very favorable sea surface temperatures here for development, and if not even rapid development potentially across this area. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on this here, especially as we head into that late July into early August period, and still got another week or so until that does happen. So I do think that we'll start to heat things up, but we definitely have some more time to warm these waters up up here as we move here through the next week or so across these areas. So that will be something to watch as we move through the rest of the month and into early August. And again, looking at the Atlantic hurricane season, tropical storm season, we really start to kind of ratchet up the intensity and the energy here in the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf as we kind of move into the early August period, and we really start to peak toward the fall months. So we're definitely starting to get closer and closer ever so slightly to that active period that we climatologically see across the Atlantic Basin. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. But looking here at the July 11th through the 20th, kind of the origin points of where these systems would start here if they were to start in the Atlantic, would be these waves kind of coming off of Africa and then really not developing until they get into the Eastern Caribbean, and then wherever they go from there, right now kind of favoring going across the Central Americas during this time frame, and that's why we have all those systems that have been continuously developing across the Eastern Pacific. But as we get toward late July here, we really start to kind of see more of these origin points coming right off the African coast here, and then moving across the southern and central portions of the Caribbean, and then up through the Gulf or the Western Atlantic here. And that is kind of the signal we're seeing, at least on the climate forecast systems model, that we might have excessive moisture across some of these areas into the Gulf. So we might have those warm water temperatures. We definitely have a lot of moisture potential there, and we could have a system develop. So we'll have to watch this during this time frame, and that might actually extend into the August 1st through 10th time frame as well. Climatologically speaking, we really start to see more of these origin points popping up here as these waves into early August kind of come off of the western African coast and kind of move across the Lesser Antilles and then into portions there of the Greater Antilles, and then eventually into the Gulf or the Western Atlantic. So we definitely have to watch this here even into the early August portion of time frames here as well as we move through the next couple of weeks. But that's kind of your full tropical weather update of what I can expect here at least through the next couple of weeks for the Eastern Pacific Basin and also the Atlantic, Caribbean, and Gulf of Mexico. So thank you guys for watching. I hope everybody's having a great weekend out there. Again, like my video here down below. Leave any comments, questions below. That is much appreciated. I will get to those as soon as I possibly can. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel, trying to help me get to 300 subscribers. That would mean the world to me. So thank you guys for joining and watching today. And also, like I said, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That means the world. So thank you guys, and have a great weekend out there.